Ancient Rome is often praised as the blueprint of civilization. Its achievements shaped the modern world: law, engineering, military strategy, architecture. Roman roads still guide cities today. Roman legal principles still echo in modern courts. Too many. Rome represents discipline, order, and progress. But behind this polished image lies a far more disturbing truth. Rome was also an empire built on fear. Its justice system was not designed to protect people, it was designed to control them. For the Romans, punishment was not about rehabilitation or fairness, it was about dominance. The state did not simply correct behavior, it crushed defiance. Justice was meant to be seen, heard, and remembered. Pain was intentional. Humiliation was strategic. Every execution was a message sent to the living. Roman law made one thing very clear: your life's value depended on who you were. Citizens, elites, slaves, foreigners each existed under different versions of justice. A Roman citizen accused of a crime might receive a trial and a quick death. A slave or outsider could be tortured, mutilated, or publicly destroyed. Equality did not exist before the law. Power decided everything. One of Rome's most infamous punishments, one that still haunts human memory, was crucifixion. Crucifixion was not invented by Rome, but the Romans perfected it into a system of prolonged agony. It was reserved for those considered beneath dignity: slaves, rebels, deserters, pirates, and enemies of the state. To be crucified was to be erased as a human being. Before the cross even appeared, the victim was flogged. Roman whips embedded with bone and metal tore skin open, exposing muscle and bone. Many died before reaching the execution site. Those who survived were forced to carry the crossbeam through public streets. Surrounded by mocking crowds, the message was unmistakable: resistance ends here. Once nailed or tied to the cross, death came slowly. Hours turned into days. The body sagged under its own weight. Breathing required unbearable effort. Insects fed on open wounds. Sun and cold took turns tormenting the flesh. Crucifixion was not meant to kill quickly, it was meant to break the spirit before the body died. Crosses lined roads so travelers would never forget Rome's power. Public execution was only one tool. Rome also turned death into entertainment. In massive amphitheaters, prisoners were condemned to beast damnatio at bestias. Unarmed men, women, and even children were thrown into arenas with lions, bears, wolves, and leopards. Sometimes the animals were starved beforehand to ensure maximum violence. These executions were spectacles. Music played, crowds roared, vendors sold food as people were torn apart. The arena transformed human suffering into public celebration. The Romans believed fear unified society. If the people feared the state, they would obey it, and if they enjoyed the spectacle, they would never question it. Some punishments crossed into the surreal. One of the most bizarre was peanut cully, inflicted upon those who murdered their parents. Romans believed this crime disrupted the cosmic order itself. The condemned was sewn alive into a leather sack with a dog, a rooster, a monkey, and a snake creatures, symbolizing chaos, betrayal, and madness. The sack was thrown into a river. Inside, darkness closed in. The animals panicked, clawing and biting. Water flooded the sack. The criminal drowned in terror, sealed away from land, sky, and memory. There was no burial, no grave. Rome erased the offender entirely, as if they had never existed. Even Rome's legendary army ruled through terror. Discipline was maintained through decimation, one of the cruelest military punishments ever recorded. If a unit showed cowardice, every 10th soldier was selected to die. These men were beaten to death by their own comrades. Survival required participation. Refusal meant death. Decimation shattered trust and ensured obedience. Soldiers feared their commanders more than the enemy. Victory was demanded not through loyalty, but terror. The Roman army conquered lands, but it did so by turning fear inward as much as outward. Fire, too, became a tool of justice. Arsonists, traitors, and those accused of sacrilege were sometimes burned alive. Romans believed fire purified. Corruption. Victims were tied to stakes, surrounded by fuel, and ignited slowly. The smell of burning flesh filled public squares. Crowds watched as bodies were consumed, believing justice was being served. Not all punishments were visible. Beneath Rome's streets lay places of silent disappearance. The Tullianum prison, hidden below the Forum, was a dark stone chamber where enemies of the state were sent to vanish. Prisoners were lowered inside through an opening in the ceiling. The air was thick. Life barely existed. Some starved to death. Others were strangled quietly after months of confinement. No witnesses, no ceremony, no record. The Tullianum was where Rome eliminated threats without spectacle proof. That terror did not always need an audience. As time passed, cruelty became normal. Children grew up watching executions. Crowds cheered suffering. Pain lost its shock. Empathy faded. The state hardened. When violence becomes routine, humanity dissolves. Rome believed fear was strength, but fear corrodes from within. Trust disappears. Loyalty weakens. Power relies increasingly on force rather than consent. The very system that kept Rome obedient also hollowed it out. Eventually, Rome fell not because it lacked armies or wealth, but because terror cannot sustain a civilization forever. Empires built on fear always face the same fate. The punishments that once enforced obedience become symbols of decay. These bizarre punishments remain more than historical curiosities. They are warnings. They remind us that justice without humanity becomes brutality, that power without restraint leads to horror, and that societies can become comfortable with cruelty if it is normalized long enough. Ancient Rome shocked the world, not only by how it punished but by how easily people accepted it. History does not just remember Rome's greatness, it remembers its cruelty, and it asks a dangerous question: what would we accept if fear ruled our world? Ancient Rome's bizarre and brutal punishments force us to confront an uncomfortable truth about power and human nature. These acts were not simply reactions to crime, they were carefully designed performances, meant to dominate the mind as much as the body. Pain was weaponized, humiliation was ritualized, and death was transformed into entertainment, all to reinforce the idea that the state was absolute and untouchable. Over time, this constant exposure to cruelty reshaped society itself. Citizens learned to accept suffering as normal, to view human lives as disposable, and to mistake fear for order. Justice became less about fairness and more about spectacle, where punishment mattered more than truth and mercy was seen as weakness. What makes Rome's story especially haunting is that it did not fall because it lacked intelligence, engineering, or military genius. It fell because it slowly lost its moral compass. When a civilization trains its people to obey through terror, it erodes trust, compassion, and unity. Eventually, fear stops working. Brutality must escalate to maintain control, and each escalation chips away at the humanity of both the punished and the punisher. Rome's laws became harsher as its stability declined, revealing a paradox history repeats again and again. The more violently a system clings to power, the closer it comes to collapse. The lasting lesson is not simply that Rome was cruel, but that cruelty was a symptom of deeper decay. A society that relies on extreme punishment admits, often unknowingly, that it no longer knows how to inspire loyalty, respect, or shared values. True justice does not need to shock, terrorize, or dehumanize. It needs legitimacy, wisdom, and restraint. Rome reminds us that progress is not measured by how efficiently a state can punish, but by how carefully it protects human dignity. When law becomes a tool of fear instead of fairness, even the greatest empires begin to rot from within. History preserves Rome's punishments not to glorify them, but to warn us. Power without empathy is never strength, it is the beginning of the end.